Heresy is finally here, and the meta has once again shifted. With the launch of each new season comes weapon buffs, exotic reworks, and powerful new artifact mods. I'm Juggernaut, and I have over 2,500 hours in Destiny 2. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 exotic weapons I believe will be meta in Heresy. Starting out with number 1, Buried Bloodline. It's a void rocket sidearm from the Warlord's Ruin dungeon. The exotic perk causes multiple final blows to give us Devour. The catalyst spreads Weaken when Devour is active. Now, Bungie nerfed rocket sidearms this episode, but it really doesn't touch Buried Bloodline. See, what they did was they decreased their detonation damage by 30%, but increased their direct hit damage by 100%. And this actually works in Buried Bloodline's favor. See, the bolts will track a target, so it's already doing almost all of its damage on direct hit. Now, they also reduce damage for rocket sidearms versus bosses, vehicles, and mini-bosses by 30%, but they say that Buried Bloodline is unaffected by this change, and actually, precision hits got an 8% damage buff. Turning to the artifact, we have Anti-Barrier Sidearm. So, sidearms pierce barrier champions' shields. In the second column, we have Volatile Marksman. Rapid Void final blows grant our Void weapons volatile rounds. In the fourth column, we have Maligned Harvest, so rapidly applying volatile causes our next instance of Void damage to emit a weakening burst. And in the fifth column, we have Void Flux. Defeating weakened targets with a Void weapon applies volatile to nearby targets. Powerful targets increase the radius of the explosion. So we're getting multi-kills, which grants us Devour, Weaken, and Volatile rounds through the artifact. And as we spread Volatile, we're creating weakening bursts. And getting kills on weakened enemies applies more Volatile. Buried Bloodline will be the absolute king of Void synergy this episode. At number 2, we have one of my all-time favorite weapons in Destiny, Vex Mythoclast. Vex is the only primary ammo fusion rifle, and it shoots like an auto rifle. Now, when you get kills, it charges the weapon up, and if you fill the meter, you can do a special reload to shoot linear fusion shots. Vex is an RNG drop from the Vault of Glass final boss, Atheon. Now, this raid is free to play, and it has been reprised with craftable weapons, so you know people are going to be running this like crazy. Turning to the artifact, we have Unstoppable Fusion, right? Unstoppable champion from the artifact. But in the fifth column, we have Particle Reconstruction. Sustained damage grants this weapon increased damage for a short duration. When you're using Vex, you're using it like an auto rifle. And if Particle Reconstruction's damage is significant, even 15%, don't be surprised when you see this weapon being used in Grandmasters and other high-level content. One more thing to note, Bungie has been buffing this weapon's linear mode almost every season. The most recent gives the linear shot a 200% damage increase versus champions. Number 3 is a weapon most people forgot about from the Lightfall expansion, Final Warning. Now, this little pocket rocket is earned by completing a quest called the Final Strand after you complete the Lightfall campaign. And it has a very unique firing mode. Holding down the trigger marks targets and charges multiple shots. Hitting a marked target with multiple shots unravels them. And in case you didn't know, it is one of the highest primary DPS weapons in the game. And Strand is a featured element on this artifact. Speaking of the artifact, not only do we have Anti-Barrier Sidearm, but in the second column we have Unraveling Orbs, so collecting an Orb of Power gives your Strand weapons unraveling rounds. And in the fourth column we have Forge Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. Now, Final Warning is already unraveling targets intrinsically, but when you add these perks, it becomes even easier to spread that unravel and clear whole rooms of enemies. And we still have 2 more rows of perks. Honestly, I would be shocked if we don't see even more Strand synergy in those final 2 rows. Exotic number 4 needs no introduction. It is the best friend of LFG fire teams everywhere, Thunderlord. It's an exotic heavy machine gun, and it's a world drop. With the introduction of the new keyword Bolt Charge on Arc, it got a big buff. In Heresy, Bungie reworked its perk to generate Bolt Charge on lightning strikes. I am incredibly excited for this, especially because there are some incredible perks in this episode's artifact. Starting out in the third column with Hold the Line. While surrounded, machine guns and glaives gain increased reload speed and stability. Final blows heal you. When you move to the fourth column, we have Flashover. When you gain maximum bolt charge, you also become amplified, and lightning bolts deal more damage. In the fifth column, we have Heavy Ordnance Regeneration, so dealing sustained damage to targets with a heavy machine gun or rocket launcher grants damage resistance and increases grenade and melee regeneration for a short duration. Also in the fifth column, Defibrillating Blast. Stunning a champion grants maximum bolts of bolt charge, triggers an arc bolt that heals you and jolts combatants that it damages. This last perk, Defibrillating Blast, is going to be massive this episode in champion content. The fact that Thunderlord will also be healing when we're surrounded, generating bolt charge intrinsically and through the artifact, giving us damage resistance and ability regeneration against bosses, there's not much more to be said. Thunderlord is going to absolutely cook this episode. The last weapon on our list comes from the Node Avalon exotic mission, Vexcalibur. Glaives have been bad, but Bungie is rolling out multiple buffs for Vex, like a stupid amount of buffs. Now, the exotic perk is M1R Distribution Matrix. It fires a spread, but more importantly, blocking damage with your shield gradually grants you and allies a Void Overshield. And Void Overshields have been significantly buffed over the last few episodes to provide more damage resistance in PvE. It also has the intrinsic Perpetual Loop. You deal additional damage when you have an Overshield. Defeating targets when you have a Void Overshield refreshes your Overshield. And in Heresy, Bungie is buffing this to fully replenish your Overshield. Bungie also gave a metric ton of buffs to glaives, including aim assist, magazine size, reload speed, and projectile speed. And when you perform a glaive combo, the final hit deals double damage. And when we add in the artifact, well, frankly, it just gets silly. See, Vex is a Void Glaive, which means it gets the same perk combos as Buried Bloodline. So we can easily spread that Weaken and Volatile, all while giving ourselves and teammates Void Overshields. And it doesn't stop there, because glaives are also a featured weapon type in this episode. And the perks that they're getting are kind of wild. In the first column, we have Unstoppable Glaive, stuns unstoppable champions, overcharged, great. But in the third column, we have Hold the Line. While surrounded, machine guns and glaives gain increased reload speed and stability. Final blows heal you. And in the fifth column, No Bell. Rapid glaive melee final blows grant special ammo glaives additional ammo. So you're going to be getting ammo back for Vex as you get melee final blows. The rest of the perk reads, blocking damage with glaives increases their melee damage to targets. I cannot wait to see how much melee damage we are talking about here. But one thing is clear, Bungie really, really wants us to use glaives, and Vex is going to be their king. What other exotics do you think belong on this list? Let us know in the comments.